Let there be light. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. Before we get the show underway, I have a few quick announcements to make. Goose Creek Players would like to recognize specific individuals for their assistance with getting this production ready, beginning with Heather Farr for allowing us to use her adaptation of Jane Austen's novel, Sonny Oberlies for organizing the fabulous costumes, Carol Good for her tireless work as the primary seamstress, and finally, the amazing staff of Franklin Park Arts Center for the many ways they support this production. Tonight's show will run in 2 acts. Act 1 is 90 minutes. Act 2 is about 70 minutes. There will be a 15-minute intermission. Please use this time to take advantage of our concessions and to enter the 50-50 raffle, which will be awarded at the end of intermission. This raffle is a fundraiser for Goose Creek Players, and here's how it works. The proceeds from the sale of raffle tickets will be divided 50-50. The winning ticket holder will receive half of the money raised this evening, and the remaining half will go to Goose Creek Players to help fund future productions, including a talent contest which will be held here at Franklin Park in June, followed by the Misfit Players in August, and this year's Christmas show, Miracle on 34th Street. Information for all these events can be found on our website at goosecreekplayers.com. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Goose Creek Players proudly presents to you Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility.
All right.
Who?
Well, Miss Marianne. It's been 4 weeks, you know. Oh, how I do miss our former employer. He was right genial to us all.
Well, it was her father that did pass away. God bless his soul. And the young lady does take her sensibility from her mother. I bet you'd have just as much melancholy if it were your doll.
Oh, likely as not. Thing is, I don't have near as much to lose as the ladies of this house do.
What are you two gossiping about now?
Tain't gossiping none. Just commenting on the master's death. God bless his soul. And how the ladies...
Oh, and Miss Margaret.
Yes, the ladies and Miss Margaret are going to be in a right proper state when Mr. John Dashwood and his wife arrive.
I've never taken a liking to the young Mr. Dashwood's wife. Selfish thing she is. It ain't right that Nolan goes to Mr. John Dashwood to himself alone. Why, he's been up and gone 3 years now. He's quite well off to boot.
I overheard Her Holiness, the head housekeeper, telling Cook that the estate was directly bequeathed to Mr. John by his great-uncle, the original owner of Norland, and that our deceased employer, God bless his soul, couldn't do anything about it.
'Tis true enough, but still doesn't seem right.
Well, we can only hope that Mr. Dashwood would be as genteel like his da, and not vanquish his stepmothers and sisters.
Half-sisters, you're forgetting that the elder Mr. Dashwood remarried after John's mom did die. God bless her soul.
Yes, half-sisters. But he was raised fairly by Mrs. Dashwood and spent much time with Eleanor and Marianne, much like a true brother, before he went off to school.
Hush now, here comes the lady herself.
Oh dear, poor Marianne. It has been 4 weeks now, and she has played only that air.
Badly.
Hush, Margaret.
He was our papa too, but we did not play those dirges continually on babbling.
Yes, I know, my darling. But Marianne does feel things so.
This cannot be good for her, Mamma. Could you not instruct her to come sit and take tea with us? All this time alone only increases her distress. And ours?
Oh, Eleanor, I could not be so unfeeling. Marianne is so sensible of her loss. Why, I fear her beauty will be quite spoiled by the time John and Fanny arrive.
I still don't see why they have to come. Norland is ours now.
Oh, I'm afraid not, my darling. Your papa had to leave it to John.
But why? John is never here. We are. John and Fanny have their own home in London.
John is the heir. He is the eldest, and he is a son.
Eleanor is the eldest, aren't you, Eleanor?
Oh dear.
John's mama married our papa before he married our mama, so John is the eldest.
I have every confidence that John shall provide handsomely for his sisters.
Oh, here comes Mr. John now.
You best not let Miss Bonnie hear you call him that.
She's a right-o selfish biddy for sure. Well, we best be off to get ready for the changing of the guard, if he knows what I mean.
Thomas, you best go greet them. I'll go alert the staff.
Certainly. Leave me with the dirty work. If they weren't already acquainted with the house, I would take them on a grand tour of the trash bin. Oh, bother. After all, Fanny, my love, it was my father's dying wish. You will take very great care of your sisters and stepmother, my boy. Now, he could hardly suppose that I should neglect them.
Indeed, to do so would expose us to ill-natured gossip.
Their mother has 10,000 from the estate already.
A princely sum for an aging widow who will surely live retired from the world.
I thought perhaps that I would give the girls 1,000 each, for a dowry, you know.
1,000 pounds each.
Yes, I could easily spare it. It would be liberal and handsome.
Easily spare it. By robbing from your own infant son Harry, I suppose.
Oh, my dear, no.
But yes, when the money is once parted with, it never can return. And there may come a time when Harry regrets that so large a sum was parted with.
To be sure, no, I had not considered that. Perhaps half the sum, then? 500 pounds each.
Shall I announce you now, Mr. Dashwood?
Not quite yet, Thomas. Mrs. Dashwood and I will need to freshen up. Please send me a man to be my valet.
Yes.
But Ma, this is your house. Surely.
No, darling, Mama cannot have Norland. It must go to the son. John and Fanny come with little Henry to live here.
What?
Oh dear.
Mama, is this true? I thought John and Fanny came only to visit. Is that woman to become mistress of Norland in your place? This cannot be borne.
Oh dear.
Why was I not told?
Marianne, we did try.
But you kept saying what is to become of us. I shall die if I leave Norland. My heart will break. I was yesterday when you and Papa was reading glasses in the library.
Fanny writes that she is happy for us to continue living here.
Oh, how dare she graciously allow you, the mistress of Norland, to remain in residence.
Oh, Marianne, you must understand that I have been very, very happy here. And I am sure Fanny will be kind.
500 pounds. What brother on earth would do so much?
One would not wish to do anything mean. And they are sure to marry well.
Until then, they could live comfortably on the interest from 10,000 pounds.
So might it not be more advisable to do something for their mother while she lives? Perhaps an annuity. My sisters will feel.
Half-sisters.
Half sisters will feel the benefit. Perhaps 100 pounds a year.
Fanny will be odiously civil at best.
She will certainly be civil in public, especially as she brings her brother. Does she not, Mamma?
Yes, Mr. Edward Ferrars. Apparently he is to enter Parliament.
A politician? Oh, can a man be more detestable? I shall not speak a word to him.
Well, as he is to be a politician, he will not need you to speak at all. I expect he will be loquacious enough for all of us.
Oh, Mamma, how can you bear her to take your place?
Oh, I am sure Fanny will be all that is right and proper.
To be sure, a yearly sum of £100 may sound better than parting with £1,500 at once, but suppose the old lady lives another 15 years, or more.
As it is, without any addition from me, they will each have about £3,000 when their mother's dead.
Think how comfortable they will be. They will live so cheap. They will have no carriage, no horses, and hardly any servants.
We could be helpful to them in so many other ways. Gifts from the house and so forth.
Yes, but not the china or the plate. Think how odd they would look once removed from Norland.
Of course, but I do wish my half-sisters well.
So generous, my sweet. Let us hope for their own sake they do not linger long at Norland. It can only bring them pain. Here you are, Edward.
You may announce us now, Thomas.
It is clear. We can live here no longer. We must leave at once.
At once? But Marianne...
No! Marianne, John and Fanny are due today. We cannot leave without greeting them. Darling, it would be most ill-bred.
But I would die if I remain at Norland. My heart will break. You cannot ask it of me. No.
I refuse to leave Norland, and I shall not welcome Fanny here.
Oh, Margaret! Margaret, what are you doing? You send them immediately, young lady. Now...
Mr. and Mrs. John Dashwood, madam, Mr. Edward Ferrars.
Oh, thank you, Thomas.
Madam, once again, my heartfelt condolences.
John, Fanny, welcome to Norland.
Ma'am.
You know my eldest daughter, Eleanor?
Sir, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, may I present Fanny's brother, Mr. Edward Ferrars. Edward, my stepmother, Mrs. Dashwood, and Miss Eleanor Dashwood.
Mr. Ferrars, you are most welcome.
Ma'am. Miss Dashwood.
Shall we sit?
Yes.
Permit me, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss Dashwood, if I may. How clumsy of me! To excuse me, my navigation skills are not the thing. So sorry. Mrs. Dashwood, your loss. I feel I must express my condolences.
You must excuse my brother, ma'am. We've a long way to go to make him fit for Parliament. Do we not, Edward?
Parliament? Oh, yes. Well, that is to say.
I hope, John, your journey down was comfortable.
Thank you so. Although the country here is prodigiously dismal. Tonight, John and I will take the usual guest suites, but we must give thought, my dear madam, to more permanent quarters. You will wish to establish your new rooms as soon as possible.
Well, I hadn't quite thought you just...
I feel it my duty to lift some of your burdens. Perhaps we could look around the house and see where I might be most useful to you. I imagined you might wish to do so and instructed your housekeeper to be ready with the keys.
Oh, did you? Oh,
John,
dear.
dear, you will wish to come too.
Oh.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Ferris, I'm so sorry.
Mr. Dashwood,
I cannot apologize.
Miss Dashwood, I do believe we've been heckled by your writing desk.
Really, sir, I cannot think it.
No, truly it spoke. And most definitely in the tone of an old Hepplewhite writing desk.
Are you stupid?
Yes, very.
Margaret!
Its legs are too thick for a Hepplewhite.
Oh, good heavens, how would you know that?
I read. Do you like to read, Edward?
Whenever I can, it's not always permitted.
But you are a grown-up. You may please yourself.
But that were true.
I could fetch you any book from the library, you know.
Most kind. Perhaps I should begin with something on furniture.
Well, you could, but that's quite dull.
Perhaps you should choose for me.
I will. Oh, and have you too, Cousin Edward. Thank you for hiding me.
You will not realize it, Mr. Ferris, but that is Margaret at her most affable. Her lack of manners is quite deplorable, but I congratulate you.
Poor girl, not expecting manners after her father's. Or yours too.
You are aware she is likely to present you with a horrid Gothic novel.
Good Lord, can they be found in your library?
No, but in Marianne's room they are not unknown.
Not yours?
I would never condemn a horrid romance, but I prefer more rational writing. Mr. Pope's wit amuses me.
A lady acquaintance of mine refers to Pope as prodigious dull and prosy.
But know that the delight is in the wordplay.
Exactly. To err is human, to purr, feline, a fate.
Of mine too. Shall we find some more appropriate reading matter then?
After you, Miss Dashwood.
The ladies ain't heard nothing yet, and after 6 months of sending inquiries for new lodgings.
Has he seen any new posts today?
Oh, none that I recognise.
If you ask me, Mr. Ferris and Miss Eleanor are getting along quite well. They do appear to accidentally meet quite often.
Oh, perhaps, but always very sensible.
And never improper.
I think it's all Mr. Ferris' doings. I think he really likes her, if you ask me.
It's a wonder they can find a way to meet at all, what with Miss Fanny practically banishing her mistresses to one part of the house.
Hush now, here they come. Let's be good servants and note away.
Mama, this house is perfect. Would have agreed. Why have you rejected it? It suits us so precisely, see? There's a music room and a library and a bedroom for each one of us, and...
Yes, I thought it suited well myself, but Eleanor reminded me is well beyond
beyond the limits of our income.
Yes.
Oh, how tiresome. Is there no dwelling in the neighbourhood that suits?
I'm afraid not, my darling, and John continues so sincerely liberal towards you.
Mamma, you do not mean for us to remain here.
Well, I mean, there are the horses to consider.
Oh, no. I beg of you. John, I grant you all smiles and sincerity. But Fanny, to have endured Fanny for 6 long months is more than anyone can bear.
Marianne, let no one hear how you speak of your sister-in-law.
Half-sister-in-law, as she points out with odious frequency. Poor Edward is struck quite dumb in her presence.
Well, not in everyone's presence. Eleanor said I should quite like him once I grew to know him, and she has proved correct.
Like him? Oh, It is enough to say he is unlike Fanny, but Eleanor...
Well, my dear Marianne, in a few months' time, in all probability, Eleanor will be set for life.
Eleanor? And Edward? Oh, so that is why you delay our removal.
Mama, my riding whip is lost. Edward promised to show me next of hours, but I cannot find my crop.
Oh, Edward is still out walking with Eleanor, and you need not rush so, Margaret.
And your crop is where you left it, on the nursery stairs.
Of course it is. Thank you, Marianne. Tell Edward to wait for me.
Edward is very amiable, but,
You look grave, Marianne. Do you disapprove of your sister's choice?
No, not, I do love him like a brother, but he is not the kind of man who... There is something wanting. He lacks the grace that I would want.
Well, we do not speak of your wants, my dear.
No, but Mama, I'm afraid that he has no real taste. Music scarcely attracts his attentions. And oh, Mama, how spiritless, how tame was Edward's manner in reading to us last night. I could hardly keep my seat to hear those beautiful lines, which have frequently driven me almost wild, pronounced with such dreadful indifference.
Well, I'm sure he would have given more justice to a simple, elegant prose, but you would give him Cooper. Perhaps Pope would have been a better choice.
No, but Mama, if he is not to be animated by Cooper, then there is no hope. But I could not be happy with a man whose tastes do not in every part coincide with my own. You know, Mama, the more I know of the world, the more I am convinced I shall never see a man whom I could truly love.
Now remember, dear, you are not yet 19 and have never been out of this neighborhood. I think it's a little too early in life to despair.
Good morning, Mamma. Another letter from Sir John. For a second cousin, he pays you first-rate attentions.
He has been so kind.
Oh, Eleanor, you do look windswept. Here, darling, let me.
Thank you.
Oh, heavens to Betsy's. Betsy, would you be so kind to help with Eleanor's hair?
Thank you. Yes, it was quite bracing for July, but we took shelter in the village hall during the worst of it. Oh, and there were some lovely sketches on display.
What a pity it is that Edward has no taste for drawing.
What do you mean?
Well, I have never seen him excited or stirred to passion by any picture.
Stirred to passion by a picture?
Yes.
Indeed, Marianne. He has not your rapturous delight in art or anything that pleases you, but few do. And of course, he distrusts his own judgment so that he is unwilling to give an opinion. But he has propriety and simplicity of taste.
Oh, yes, but that is hardly.
Oh, I hope you do not judge him to be deficient in general taste. No, you could not, because then you would never be civil to him.
Please do not be offended. I do think him everything that is worthy and amiable.
Only everything that is worthy and amiable. His abilities in every respect improve as much upon acquaintance as his manners and his person.
But you must allow he could hardly be called handsome.
No, I mean the emotion in the eyes and the general sweetness of his countenance. Once perceived, one.
I shall very soon think him handsome when you tell me to love him as a brother.
Marianne, no! I think very highly of Mr. Ferris. I do not deny my esteem, my liking.
Esteem? Liking? Cold-hearted Eleanor. Use those words again, and I will leave the room this moment.
Oh, all right. Believe my feelings to be a little stronger than I have declared. But beyond that, you must not believe. He is far from being independent. His mother could place many obstacles in his path should he wish to marry a woman with neither fortune nor rank.
And are you really not yet engaged to him?
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Fanny.
Eleanor, my cousin in Devon has a house which may suit us. Oh, excuse me, Fanny.
Not at all, ma'am. Am I to understand that you are contemplating leaving us?
Well, not right away.
Such a coincidence as Edward, too, is thinking of leaving.
He is.
Yes, my mother summons him to Brighton. She's there for her health, you know. It's time he moved in the very best circles, given the elevated extent of his expectations. Do you not agree, Miss Dashwood?
His expectations are...
Yes. I need hardly tell you, ma'am, of the cares of a mother to ensure the very best alliances for her offspring.
Yes, indeed. Any couple who are attracted by similar dispositions and true affection should be promoted by their families.
What do young people know of true affection? And indeed, young men are tragically vulnerable to the wrong sort, are they not?
I'm sure I cannot say.
But my mother is firm in her resolution that her sons will marry well. Their duty has been made plain to them from birth almost.
From birth? But how?
They will marry into fortune and rank. Indeed, so fierce is my mother's jealousy for Edward's advancement that I pity any young woman attempting to draw him in.
You know, Fanny, I have always considered that to be a rather vulgar expression. Now, Eleanor and Marianne are old enough to know better, but I would ask you not to repeat it in front of Margaret. My darlings, my cousin Sir John Middleton has offered me a cottage on his estate, and he has invited us to live with him at Barton Park. Fanny, I am sure you would wish to inform Edward of his mother's summons. Oh, and pray, ask Margaret to join me here. Now.
Eleanor, how could she be so...
Mamma, Barton Park and Devonshire?
Yes, read for yourself, my dear. Marianne, do not say a word. It's not Eleanor's way.
But, Mamma, she was hateful to Eleanor, and to part her from Edward now.
I will not remain here for Eleanor to be exposed to such insinuations.
But, Devon, it is so far from here. I have not thought to leave Sussex.
The farther away from Fanny, the better for us all.
I've rarely seen so amiable a letter. Yes. He seems truly anxious to accommodate us all.
Yes, I feel closer to Sir John, though a distant cousin, than I do to other nearer relations. But does the cottage suit your idea of economy, Eleanor? You know we are ruled by you in such matters.
The terms are so easy and Sir John's so obliging. And indeed, I quite feel he is offering to pay us to take the cottage. I cannot conceive of a more generous landlord. Look, he even offers us his carts and carriages for removal.
So, farewell to Norland. Oh, dear.
Yes, my darlings. But remember, we may invite whomsoever we please to Barton Cottage, and no one can stand in his or their way.
It's our third trip from Norland in as many weeks, and that's the last of it.
What a shame Miss Dashwood had to sell her carriage and horses.
Well, with the purse strings as tight as they are, it ain't likely they can afford to keep them.
And sending us with the furniture to prepare the place has been a chore.
'Tis indeed. Where might the pianoforte be?
On a boat coming the long way by sea. Would been a rough trip for a forte. Well, it's my half day. I'm off.
Where are the Dashwoods now?
I heard Miss Marianne talking about attempting a chore. 'Tis hard to see the ladies not properly attended to as was their custom at Norland. Well, I have my own work waiting for me. That back room is sitting in an inch of dust and it won't clean itself.
Well, I best be off. Back to Norland. Best wishes to you and Betsy, Thomas.
Right. Let's see it, Meg. Exactly as I showed you. Come on. Uh-huh. Come on.
You try then.
I shall. Really, Margaret. It cannot be so difficult. Betsy does it every week. I did hope for less grey and no pink.
You told me to scrub it, but it made my fingers bleed.
There. Simple.
What are you doing?
Laundry, Marianne.
Oh, and who is teaching Marianne? No less than a quarter of an hour of rinsing and scrubbing per item.
A quarter hour? But the soap and lye will ruin my hands.
Well, then why embark upon laundry?
I ought to be of some use. I know our circumstances are quite straitened.
And Betsy's half day.
And I particularly wanted to clean that spot from your gloves, since she was so kind to lend them to me.
My glove?
Girls, Thomas has seen Sir John's carriage turn up the valley, and he is sure to call. What is all this?
Laundry.
Eleanor, what persuaded you to attempt laundry?
Never
mind. Thomas, Betsy.
Yes.
Oh my God! Girls, Thomas, please, remove all this. Betsy, help the girls, please. Oh, and we shall want tea later, I expect, for Sir John as Mrs. Jennings.
I see no reason for all this fuss. They have visited every day since we arrived. On the first day, we all had cobwebs in our hair.
Well, they did not visit yesterday.
Because we dined at the park in the evening.
It is true, Mamma. You have seen Sir John and Mrs. Jennings 1 and 20 and a half times since we came together. Half at church last week. He only nodded, and I did not dine at the park yesterday evening.
Well, we should be grateful for his liberality and friendship.
Yes, I worry less about the housekeeping since he's taken to bringing so much fruit and produce, although I believe we have Mrs. Jennings to thank for organising it all.
I am not certain I should welcome my mother-in-law keeping house for me when I marry.
Well, you are neither a man nor a widower.
I think theirs is an eminently sensible arrangement. They rub along so well together, sharing the same sociable nature.
Exhaustingly so.
Ingratitude, Marianne.
No, but Mamma, I cannot like Miss Jennings' fixation with matchmaking. So keen to discover how many broken hearts we left behind in Sussex. I blushed for Eleanor several times.
Indeed, you need not have done so. Your blushed and anguished looks were far harder to bear than a little teasing over tea.
Oh,
Why should Mrs. Jennings tease Eleanor over tea? I think I have it. Is it over Edward?
Margaret, you're not to mention Edward Ferrars. Not ever. Do you understand?
But why? Why hasn't Edward come like he promised? He was going to bring a telescope.
Darling, it wouldn't be the thing. Discussion of beaux and love affairs in company is best left to the vulgar. Is it not, Mamma?
Yes, of course, my dear. Oh, thank you, Thomas. Betsy, you may prepare the tea. Oh, look, I think I see Colonel Brandon riding alongside them.
Colonel Brandon?
We dined with him last night at the park. A friend of Sir John's. Very gentlemanly.
And unmarried, as Miss Jennings did not cease to point out.
You cannot fault his taste, Marianne. He was much moved by your music. I'm certain his eyes were moist.
But his lips were shut. He said only, "Thank you," afterwards. Such reserve. But I dare say it was all the spirit he can manage at his age.
Is he old then?
Over 30. Really? At that age, a poor soul should be spared the indignity of comments about love. The flame is long extinguished by then.
Be careful, Marianne. He is not much younger than I am.
Yes, but Mamma, he spoke of a flannel belt for rheumatics. Ugh, such things bespeak age, do they not? Well,
A little bit. Yes.
Sir John Middleton, Mrs. Jennings, and Colonel Brandon now.
Thank you, Thomas.
Hello.
Good afternoon, my dears. Excuse me, Joe.
Oh, my dear Mrs. Dashwood, cousin.
We simply had to bring you these plums for an overrun with them.
You know, our country air suits you. I swear you're 15 years younger since you came to Devonshire.
And the Colonel and Sir John, well, they shoot far too many votes for our state, and I tell them to cut down. But there you are, men and their sport, and there's naught to be done about it.
Oh, Miss Dashwood, Marianne. Oh, Margaret, my dear. Sadly missed last night. Sadly missed. We must see you out in society, eh? Oh, ladies, please sit, please sit.
And the Colonel remembered the music from Miss Marianne, and here we all are, and how splendid it is.
Colonel Brandon, how do you do? Please come in and be seated.
Well, thank you, Mum. I am well. Forgive me for calling on so short an
We
acquaintance.
know why you're here, Colonel, and it begins with M, does it not?
Yes, Mum. Music.
Stop.
You played so well last night, and you mentioned that these pieces were new to you, so I took the liberty of bringing these from my music room.
Oh, thank you, Colonel. I am much obliged, but I cannot.
Oh, merely alone, Miss Marianne. Now, I expect you'll soon master them.
No, sir. You see, I have no pianoforte here at the cottage.
No, pianoforte? But you play with such spirit.
No pianoforte. It's an oversight. Sorry oversight on my part. I will have one delivered at once. Heaven solved.
Not too generous.
Sir, we have not the room, and...
Oh, yes, tricky that. No, wait. I have a capital idea. Let's extend the cottage and add a music room. Such talent cannot be denied.
Oh my! I had often thought that a spare bedroom would be splendid for guests.
Mamma, it is already September. Adding another set of rooms would involve building through winter, and the cottage could not be habitable.
Well, then you all must move to the park with us for the duration. Oh, yes, we shall have.
I do have a pianoforte. It is in transit. Or we could not arrange carriage for it until the autumn storms were over. So opted to have it shipped instead, but thank you, Colonel.
I had not thought to cause such commotion over a simple gift. Forgive me.
Did you say an extra bedroom for guests, Mrs. Dashwood? Are we expecting a stream of lovelorn young men from Sussex then?
No, just one.
Ah, I knew it. I knew there was a lover hiding. Now whose is it? Oh, is it yours, Miss Marianne? I think it must be, for see how she blushes. Come, Margaret, we are all friends here.
I must not tell. Must I, Eleanor?
Darling, I cannot imagine what you mean. The weather, I think, has been particularly...
It's Miss Dashwood's boat we pursue. Tally ho, Mrs. Jennings.
Margaret, remember, whatever your conjectures may be, you have no right to repeat them.
I never heard any conjectures until you told me about it yourself.
Hoist, Miss Marianne. Hoist with your own petard.
Oh, yes, Miss Dashwood, you know the weather is very
Pray,
changeable.
Margaret, tell me all about it.
Mamma, may I be excused? I have an increasingly sore head. I really must walk.
I must not tell, ma'am, but I know who he is and where he is.
Oh, aye, near Norland. I have it. It is the curate.
No, ma'am, he has no profession.
Margaret, walk with me.
Miss Margaret, tell us the name.
There is no name, ma'am. It is pure invention on the child spot. She grows heated, you see. It's time for her walk.
It is not pure invention. His name begins with F.
Oh, F.
Come. Oh, Margaret.
Francis.
Felix.
Fritz.
Farr.
Fitzherbert.
Fitzwilliam.
Mrs. Dashwood, I do not mean to interfere, but the weather is closing in. Should I perhaps accompany your daughters?
That is very kind of you, Colonel. But there are no homes nearby, and my girls are quite accustomed to roaming the hills.
So what you must understand is Margaret has a vivid imagination, and Marianne, she's far too romantic.
You know, if you were to extend the cottage, Sir John, would you not do so through this wall over here? You know that your man Bennet might be able to do it with ease, might he not?
Oh, we see you in a hurry to have Miss Marianne's music room all fitted up. Oh, you smile so, but I have a nose for romance. I can always spot it, can I not?
Indeed you can, ma'am, but I fancy I have his strategy discovered better than you.
How so?
Well, if he would marry the gal, he would take her to Delaford, and there's already a music room there, is there not?
Such tests might alarm the ladies, sir.
Nonsense. Oh, ladies love to talk of beaux. My daughters, before their marriages, would stay up.
I said the weather was on its turn, ma'am. It changes quickly in the hills. I really think I should go look for Miss Margaret, Miss Marianne.
Dear.
Mom! Eleanor! She fell, and he's carrying her!
Good heavens!
Oh, not worry. She's perfectly well. She just took a bit of a nasty fall. It's more shock than anything else.
Oh, Betsy, bring towels. Oh, sir, we are indebted to you. May I ask your name?
Willoughby of Eleanor, ma'am.
Will you not come in and be seated?
Oh, I'm afraid I've already left more than wet enough. I will go, but please allow me to return tomorrow so that I may make a better first impression.
Oh, yes, please do.
Tomorrow then. Farewell, and my very best wishes for your recovery.
Goodbye, and thank you.
Well, now.
Willoughby of Allenham. What a man.
Willoughby, eh? Always a gentleman.
Oh, you know him then?
Well, no, to be sure I do. He's down here every year.
Well, then, what sort of a young man is he?
Well, he's a decent shot, and there's not a bolder rider in England.
That's true.
And is that all you could say for him? What are his pursuits, his talents, his genius?
On my soul, I don't know much about him as to all that, but well, he is a pleasant, good-humored fellow, and Oh, he's got the nicest little spotted bitch or pointer you ever saw. Did he bring him with her today?
But who is he? Where does he come from? At your house, at Allen House?
He is well worth catching, my dear Miss Dashwood. He has a pretty little estate of his own in Somersetshire besides, and if I were you, I would not give him up to my younger sister. Miss Marianne must not expect to have all the men to herself. Brandon will be jealous.
I am sure Mr. Willoughby will not be incommoded by the attempts of either of my daughters to what may be called catching him. But I am glad to know that he is a respectable young man.
I remember last Christmas at a little hop at the park. He danced from 8 to 4 without once sitting down.
Did he indeed? And with elegance, with spirit.
Yes, and he was up again at 8 to ride to hunt.
That is what a young man ought to be. Whatever his pursuits may be, his eagerness in them should know no moderation.
I see how it'll be. You'll be setting your cap at him now and forget all about poor Brandon.
That is an expression, Sir John, which I particularly dislike.
Mrs. Jennings, Miss Marianne has been soaked and has taken hurt. I think that her family could better minister to her in our absence. Shall we?
Oh, I nose out of joint. Never mind, Brandon. You shall seek Miss Dashwood's hand instead. Once you've supplanted the mysterious Mr. F. Farewell, I shall call on the morrow.
Fancy finding you here, and what brings you to Plymouth? I might be asking you the same. I thought you were Norland with the Dashwoods. I would have been, but Miss Fanny assigned my husband as valet to her brother, and so I followed him here, and now I'm housekeeper. Mr. Farris is here. Oh, Miss Eleanor will be surprised. And how is it with your other charges? Miss Margaret is growing like a weed. Mrs. Dashwood is quite content, and Miss Marianne has been quite busy with a suitor. No, you must tell me more.
Betsy, are you gossiping again? What are you telling this lady?
She's not just any lady, she's from Norland, and I wasn't gossiping. I was simply trying to tell her how Miss Marianne has been spending every waking moment with her suitor, Mr. Willoughby.
Mr. Willoughby, what? Look at the cathedral of isn't it magnificent, Marianne? Marianne?
It's not the cathedral she's thinking of, my dear. Now, if it was St. John's...
The possibility does exist of my having more than one idea in my head at a time. I'm in love, not incapable.
Marianne, for your modesty, please.
No harm done. The world continues quite unbothered by your sister's ardent declarations. Oh, look at the time. Charlotte's coach will be here any moment, and I must greet them. Will you be perfectly capable of making your way back to Barton?
Of course, we have made this journey before, many times.
Very well, then I'll be off. But be sure to stop by Loverton Holt. They have some of the best lace in Plymouth.
Oh, yes. I must have some new lace for my bonnet. Oh, do not look at me that way. I know our finances do not run to new bonnets entirely, but surely a little lace will not see us impoverished. And we can find something for you. Something that Edward would like.
I'm not sure Edward is partial to lace.
Willoughby is exceedingly fond of lace. Willoughby says I shall only wear pale blue. He says it brings out the colour in my eyes.
Very well then, pale blue lace for you.
And what colour for you? What would Edward like?
Marianne!
Shh! Of course. Always quiet and calm. Even here, where no one knows us. Yes?
I think Mrs. Jennings was right. I think that Lovett and Holt is really the ideal shop for your trim.
Eleanor, where is your heart? After all this time, has Edward given you no assurances? Why has he not come?
I should imagine the demands of his mother are too onerous at present.
But he loves you. I'm sure of it. I'm sure you felt the same way. Can you not talk about it?
I have always felt that it was my responsibility to protect you and Mamma from my feelings of disappointment.
I do not understand how you can be so calm. I've only been separated from Willoughby for a day, and it feels like a lifetime.
Well, that is because you have seen him every day since your fall, whether out in his curricle or picnics in the meadow.
Now, Eleanor, that simply isn't true. There was that one day, several weeks ago, when his horse threw a shoe
and you were utterly unconsolable. How could I have forgotten?
Oh, I know it isn't the done thing to speak of it, but I feel sure, now that I have deeper feelings for him than I ever thought possible. Sometimes I catch him staring at me like he's lost in my eyes. It's everything my novel said it would be. Oh, look! Lace!
Mr. Farr, I'm so sorry. I did not expect...
I had no idea you came into Plymouth at all.
Indeed, we would not usually do so, but Mrs. Jennings was coming into town to meet her daughter, and she invited us to come along. Marianne is in great need of lace.
And how is your mother and Miss Margaret?
They are well. And how is your sister? Our sister, Fanny?
In truth, I haven't seen them. I have been... Miss Dashwood. Oh, I am terribly awkward with words. There's something I've been meaning to say. But when I talk of feelings...
Do go on.
When I first arrived in Norland, I did not expect to become attached to the place, or all the people in it. But you have been such a good friend to me that words. I just...
Mr. Ferris?
Edward, please.
Edward?
When I was a student of Mr. Pratt, I never... All I ever wanted... What I mean to say is that...
Pray do not distress yourself on my account.
No, of course. It is enough that you are well.
I am. We are all quite well.
That is good, then. Excuse me, I am expected.
Oh, of course.
Eleanor, come on. We'll miss the coach.
Betsy, did you pack enough for the entire afternoon?
Yes, ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, but are we to set off immediately for Colonel Brandon's brother-in-law's estate?
Yes, Sir John has the entire party convening here at Barton Park. Then we are attending to sojourn to Whitwell, once everyone has arrived.
Yes, then I must pack these on the carriages and go find Miss Margaret.
Thank you, Betsy. Eleanor, I thought we agreed to meet outside for the carriages. I thought everyone would be here.
We are a little early, Mamma. And we appear to have lost Margaret.
She has probably run round to the stables. Betsy will tend to her. I am more concerned about Marianne. I thought she and Willoughby were but a few minutes ahead of us. So kind of him to walk us over from the cottage.
I think he was walking Marianne. When they are together, they have eyes for no one else.
So true. Last night at the assembly, they danced more than half their dances together.
Mamma, do you not think they go a little far? He singles her out and she returns his affection so openly that they are laughed at and spoken of as a couple by all in our society.
Yes, so true. If we were in London, their behavior might be considered a little too exclusive. But we were in the country, Eleanor, and they have so much in common. Oh, and how beautifully they sing together.
There is more to marriage than duets.
Yes.
I thought more people would be here as well. I thought Colonel Brandon was supposed to be joining us rather.
That's what I
shortly
expected
as well. Yes, I'm not sure. Mama, are you really sure that they do not go to...
Oh, here he is. There's Colonel Brandon. I must confess, I wish he would not pine so for Marianne. His silence oppresses her spirit so.
Sir John speaks of past disappointments and mysterious sorrow. I'm not sure.
I would not be surprised if Sir John hinted at pirate treasure or gothic murder. Oh, good morning, Colonel Brandon. You must excuse me. I'm off in search of my youngest daughter.
Ma'am? Miss Dashwood, I see I find you well. Is Miss Marianne to be coming today? For I had arranged this trip to Whitwell largely to please her. Pretty wildernesses, hidden caves, and a picturesque hermitage which I felt might appeal to her.
Oh, you are too kind, Colonel. Marianne is nearby.
Your sister, I understand, does not approve of second attachments.
No, all her opinions are romantic. But she's not yet 19, and a few more years will settle her opinions, and then they will carry a great deal more weight.
Possibly. But how sad it is to see the amiable enthusiasm and spontaneity of youthful prejudice give way to everyday opinions.
Oh, but there are inconveniences attached to Marianne's feelings. No, she has to learn moderation through a better acquaintance with reality.
Oh, no, do not desire that. Such an acquaintance oft delivers a lesson that is far too harsh for a gentle, youthful spirit. Sorry. I once knew a lady who, in temper and mind, greatly resembled your sister, but who, through a series of unfortunate circumstances, well, the lesson was too harsh. Excuse me, Miss Dashwood.
Eleanor! They are engaged!
What? Mama!
Do not be so hasty, I beg of you.
What? He has got a lock of her hair. But I know it is her surprise, so I'll put it off just now.
Wait, he has cut Marianne's hair? What?
No, Sibby, only a lock. He seemed to be pleading and begging. And we were whispering and talking together as fast as can. So, she let her dress fall down. Then he took out his knife, cut off a long lock, then kissed it and put it back into his pocketbook.
Good heavens!
I am sure she'll be married to Mr. Willoughby very soon. Then I may keep a pony at Allenham. May I not, Mamma?
Oh, how splendid to have Willoughby and Edward as my sons-in-law.
Mamma, please do not speak of this at the party tonight. We must allow Willoughby to show good form and seek your permission in addressing Marianne.
He has been addressing Marianne for these past 3 months.
Yes, but nothing official has been said. Please, Mamma, for Marianne's sake, let them choose the time of telling. Mamma?
Very well.
But yes, my sentiments exactly, Willoughby. It exactly captures the mood.
To find another who appreciates Cooper as I do.
And Shakespeare.
Who could fail to do so? Oh, I must take you to see Keane in London.
Yes.
I mean, only he can capture the magnificent horror. Here is our pleasure party, or at least the Barton Cottage portion of it.
But you are not from Barton Cottage.
Wounded. Oh, a hit. A palpable hit. Margaret, you wrong me. For I am of the Barton Cottage party, not only this morning, but always.
Colonel Brandon was here a moment ago.
Ah, Colonel Brandon. The man whom everybody speaks well of, and nobody cares about.
That is exactly what I think of him.
Yet do not boast of it, for he is highly esteemed by all the family here at the park.
Oh, a point against him. Who would submit themselves to the indignity of being approved by such women as Mrs. Jennings or Mrs. Palmer?
True. We have scarcely seen Mrs. Palmer, and Mrs. Jennings, she is the kindest woman.
My dear sister. Well, Miss Dashwood, no. Even from you, I will not have this. I mean, how long have you endured her oh-so-subtle pokes and insinuations about Mr. Eyre?
Oh, hush, the others are coming.
Good morning. What a fine time we shall have today. Ah, Mr. Willoughby, there you are with Miss Marianne. As usual, how do you do?
Ma'am.
And you did not properly meet my daughter last night, did you all? Mrs. Dashwood, allow me to make her known to you, and her husband, who I am sure is the drollest man I've ever met.
Indeed he is. I said to him this morning, Lord, do you not long to meet the Miss Dashwoods? And you know what he said?
No.
Nothing! Not a word! How excessively diverting. Oh, how he abuses me. We laugh so often, do we not, my dear?
You do.
See, is it not diverting? Now, this must be Miss Dashwood, is it not?
Mrs. Palmer, how do you do, ma'am?
Oh, yes, pining for F, I hear.
And this is young Miss Margaret, and those two are...
Miss Marianne and Mr. Willoughby, who else? Did we not see you two at the ball together last night? Such devotion would be a fine thing for we old married couples, would it not, Mr. Palmer?
It would not.
I assume, Mr. Willoughby, you are visiting your aunt at Allenham. It has been several months since we've seen you at Cleveland last. Your estate at Cumaga must be sadly neglected, eh?
My steward will contrive, ma'am.
Oh, yes, contrive he will, but what could be keeping you here?
What else but your company?
Oh, and you are all to meet Miss Lucy Steele, my cousin of some kind or another. Lucy, make the acquaintance of the Dashwoods. Oh, I could not manage without Lucy. Truly, I could not. Since she's come, she's been invaluable. Invaluable, I say. Even Mr. Palmer agrees. Lucy Steele, Mr. Palmer, where should I be without her?
Still packing.
Miss Dashwood, I am particularly pleased to meet you. You have been commended to me by a mutual friend. Oh, who? Well,
Oh, here we are! Splendid. Oh, so good to see you. Glad you could be here. Oh, glad you could come today. It's going to be a great day today. It's great, wonderful that you be here. Oh, ladies, good to see you all. Glad you're all here. So many beautiful ladies. How should we divide them up, eh, Brandon? Perhaps you could take Miss Dashwood and her sisters and travel with you, and I'll offer Mrs. Dashwood my brougham, and I'm sure the Palmers will not be separated.
I am not.
And you'll excuse me, sir, but I have just this minute promised Miss Marianne a chance to ride in my high curricle, so we cannot accept your distribution of passengers.
Colonel Brandon, oh thank God. I came down from London overnight just as you telephoned.
is it?
Yes, sir. God be praised. In Hackney.
Hackney?
Well, gracious, Colonel. Whatever is the matter? Is it...
Colonel, how may I be of service? Something is clearly amiss.
Yes, Brendan, how can we help?
No, thank you, gentlemen. Ladies, my sincerest apologies. This letter is business which requires my immediate attendance in town. I must leave at once. Sir John, may I beg a horse of you to take me to Delaford?
Well, of course, my dear fellow, but must you go? You're needed here, for we cannot enter Whitwell without you.
Oh no! Cancel our day at Whitwell? It cannot be! I am mortified and desolate! Are you not the same, Mr. Palmer?
Crushed beyond measure, my dear.
But if you write a note to the housekeeper, Colonel Brandon, will it not be sufficient?
Alas, no.
Well, then you must put off your business for but a day.
If you would but tell us what the business is, then we may all decide whether it might be postponed.
I cannot.
You would only lose 6 hours at most.
I cannot afford to lose 1 hour. No, I must leave immediately. Is there no chance of my seeing you or your sisters in town this winter, Miss Dashwood?
No, sir, none at all.
Then I must bid you farewell for longer than I wish to do so. Good day, everybody.
Well, some people cannot bear a party of pleasure. Brandon is one of them. I would lay 50 guineas the letter was of his own writing.
I have no doubt of it.
Come, we'll have a day of pleasure anyway. We shall dance and play cards this evening, all together, and dine well, shall we not? Mrs. Jennings, it can be managed, can it?
Managed? Of course it can be managed.
But what are we to do today? The weather is so fine for autumn. I cannot bear to waste a day inside. It would be unsupportable.
Why, we shall ride about to the countryside, and I'll teach you to handle my curricle like a complete out-and-out man.
Oh, yes, a ride in the countryside. Could anything be finer, my dear?
Almost everything.
Marianne, darling. No, it is too fast. You must act with more reserve. Do not be so open, all right? Oh, darling.
I abhor concealment and deceit. I shall not pretend I do not have feelings which in themselves are not reprehensible. It would be a sham. I delight in Willoughby's companionship and he in mine. Why should we hide it?
Oh, aye, there they go. Well, I hope old Mrs. Smith does not take against our Marianne, for he is highly dependent upon her, leaving him her fortune. And Mr. Willoughby, I hear, does not live within his current means.
Perhaps we should have a bite to eat before we head out to the young people. Won't you all come in?
I can guess the Colonel's business, my dear. It will be Miss Williams.
And who is Miss Williams?
Oh, a very near relation of the Colonel's. Very near. Why, I can hardly say it in front of the young ladies. She is his natural daughter.
Out of wedlock?
A sad, sad case. But she will inherit all his fortune, you know. Oh.
Miss Dashwood, Providence must have created this opportunity. Would you care to walk a while with me before we go in?
If it please you, Miss Steele.
Do you still miss Norland? It is very fine, is it not?
No one who has seen Norland can doubt its beauties, but I fail to see how...
Pardon me, but you will understand when I speak. But I must ask you to give your word not to reveal any of what I say to anyone.
My dear Miss Steele, of course, but
you will think my question an odd one, but pray, are you acquainted with your sister-in-law's mother, Mrs. Ferris?
No, I'm sorry, I am not.
I'm sure you think me strange for inquiring about her in such a way. I'm sorry you do not happen to know Mrs. Ferris. You see, she is certainly nothing to me at present, but the time may come when we may be very intimately connected.
Good heavens, are you then acquainted with Mr. Robert Ferris?
No, not of Mr. Robert Ferris, but engaged to his eldest brother, Edward. You may well be surprised, for I dare say Edward never dropped the smallest hint of it to you, because it was always meant to be a great secret. But I do not think Mr. Ferris can be displeased when he knows I have trusted you, because he has the highest opinion of all your family and looks upon yourself and the other Miss Dashwoods as his own sisters.
Excuse me, may I ask if your engagement is of long standing?
We have been engaged these 4 years.
4 years?
Yes. He was under my uncle's care, you know, a considerable while, some 5 years. It was there our engagement was formed. Though you do not know him so well as me, Miss Dashwood, you must have seen enough of him to be sensible. He is very capable of making a woman sincerely attached to him.
I beg your pardon, but there must be some mistake. We cannot mean the same Mr. Ferris. We
can mean no other. Mr. Edward Ferris, eldest son of Mrs. Ferris of Park Street, and brother of your sister-in-law, Mrs. Fanny Dashwood.
It is strange. I should have never heard him even mention your name.
No, considering our situation, it was not strange. Our first care has been to keep the matter secret.
4 years you have been engaged?
Yes, and heaven knows how much longer we may have to wait. I am in fear that the family will never approve of me. I shall have no fortune. Perhaps it would be better to call it off altogether. What do you think?
Oh, pardon me, but I cannot advise you in these circumstances. Your own judgment must direct you.
Poor Edward is so cast down by it. Writing to each other is the only comfort we have in such long separations.
What are you two talking about out here? I must have my say.
What's all the to-do about? Has one of the girls taken ill?
No, Hila, much less serious than that, but nonetheless to be affecting our future, to be certain.
What are you riddling and prattling about? Get you out with it.
Shortly, Mr. Willoughby did arrive in such a flurry, inquiring if he could see Miss Marianne post-haste. Before I could get Mrs. Dashwood, Marianne burst into the room and swept him away into the parlour.
You don't say. It's about time. All this gallivanting for about 4 months. Did you know that Mr. Willoughby did take Marianne over to Allenham when his aunt wasn't there? His groomsman told me. He said they wandered around the place for nigh into an hour. Miss Marianne came up with quite a twinkle in her eye. I bet she was eyeing the place.
Hush now with your gossip. I ran and told the missus that Mr. Willoughby was here and came directly back to prepare for celebrations afterwards.
And you're certain he's come to ask for a hand? I wonder if we will need to find new employment.
Well, if the emotion in his countenance is any indication, then I'd say what he was here for. Sure.
I suppose I'd best go tend to his horse then.
And I to prepare for the tea.
Come on, Meg, a little civility, please.
But I want to see. You have to go on one everything.
Meg, we have no idea what is happening in there.
Oh, Eleanor, you have a reason to doubt him. I mean, they have been inseparable since Marianne's fall, and that was months ago.
I should go and ask them.
No, stop there.
Fine. I should just go peek in the window. They won't see me. Correct, Senator?
Well, Willoughby, are you well? Are you all right?
I fear not, for I am now suffering under a very heavy disappointment.
Disappointment?
Yes, for I am unable to keep my engagement with you. Mrs. Smith has this morning exercised the privilege of riches upon a poor dependent cousin by sending me on business to London.
To London? Are you to leave this morning?
At this very moment.
Oh, that's so disappointing. But Mrs. Smith must be obliged. Her business will not detain you from us long, I hope.
You are very kind, but I have no idea of returning into Devonshire immediately. My visits to Mrs. Smith are never repeated within the year.
Oh, well, is Mrs. Smith your only friend here? Is Allenham the only home to which you shall be welcome?
You are too good. My engagements at present are of such a nature that... Dare not flatter myself. It is folly to linger in this manner.
Willoughby! Willoughby, where are you going? When do you come back? He's gone. He didn't even say goodbye. But Marianne, dear, what has happened? Darling, are you unwell?
Leave me be.
Oh, but should I not call a doctor?
No doctor can help me. My heart is broken. Willoughby has left and I shall never see him again.
No, I'm sure once he has discharged his obligations, he will return.
You cannot possibly understand. You have never had heart enough to love. You can have no idea of what I suffer.
Marianne,
I cannot be consoled. Willoughby is gone and I am in ruins.
Another of Sir John's engagements?
Oh, yes, indeed. Though I think this one is meant to be more medicinal than entertaining.
What do you mean by that?
Miss Marianne Dashwood.
What of her?
Oh, she's been low these last few months. I think Sir John is intending to cheer her up with his party.
I'd be surprised if she shows up at all. Betsy told me she sequestered herself in her room.
I think Miss Eleanor has some influence over her sister. Will bolster Marianne to come, simply for social appearances.
Do you want this over here?
No, I think Sir John wants it over there. And go get that other chair and bring it next to it, please.
Well, I do hope Miss Marianne breaks up with her silent state soon. God bless her soul.
Yes, she's too lovely a lady to waste her days in such gloom.
Oh, I think we're all set, ladies. Let's be off.
Sign of Mr. Willoughby? I understand he left Devonshire not long after our failed trip to Whitwell.
No, we have neither heard nor seen of Willoughby for more than 2 months now.
Oh, Miss Marianne, she looks so pale.
If you had but seen her desolation, Charlotte, she walked the village of Allenham like a wraith for fully a week. And until the weather turned, she was often on the hills.
My girls often walk on the hills. It's really
And
not...
Willoughby so close to her when last we visited. Recall how we swept her away in its curricle that day. Nary a chaperone in sight. Well, I said to Mr. Palmer, what do you think of that? And what do you make of that? Do you remember, Mr. Palmer? He said they would return engaged or head straight for Gretna. Did you not, Mr. Palmer?
I never said anything so irrational. Do not palm all of your abuses of sense upon me.
You see how droll he continues. Fatherhood has not changed him a jot.
And did you hear of Willoughby being at Combe Magna during your last visit to Cleveland?
No, it could madness but a mile or so. Is it not?
5 miles, if a yard.
You see how he loves to contradict me.
I'm glad you brought Miss Steele with you, Charlotte. She is thick with Eleanor, and upon my soul it is good to see another lively young thing here.
Yes, let us hope Lucy may cheer both the Miss Dashwoods.
I cannot tell you, Miss Dashwood, how glad I am to see you again. You are the only person to whom I can speak about Edward. I understand you met him in Plymouth.
Yes, briefly. I believe he was staying with your uncle at the time.
Oh, yes, he stayed with us for a blissful fortnight. He has not yet been to Barton, has he?
No.
Did you not think him sadly out of spirits? It made him melancholy not being able to stay longer with us. His mother, old Mrs. Ferris, is very demanding. I heard from him last week. You know his hand, of course.
Oh, it is indeed his hand.
He has only £2,000 of his own. It would be madness to marry on that. We must wait, maybe for many years. With any other man, that might be an alarming prospect, but I know I can be completely assured of Edward's constant and lasting affection.
That conviction must mean everything to you, but is not this concealment burdensome?
Alas, Mrs. Ferris is so headstrong that she might, upon hearing of Edward's betrothal to me, secure her entire fortune upon Edward's brother Robert. If only Edward could obtain a living. He is so very anxious to take orders.
Mr. Ferris means to enter the church.
Yes, but that too would infuriate his mother. She'd prefer to see him in Parliament or something grand.
Poor Mr. Ferris, to be forced to accept a profession that is distasteful to him.
We do seem so beset by difficulties that we should dissolve the engagement. Pray advise me, Miss Dashwood. I know nobody whose judgment I think so highly as I do of yours.
No, that reason my influence much too high. Such a decision is too great for an indifferent person.
But 'tis because you are indifferent that your judgment has such weight with me. For you have nothing to do with the matter at all yourself.
Mrs. Dashwood, a word, please. Forgive my impertinence, Mum, but has a doctor been called to Miss Marianne? Her want of spirits, it's a grievance to all her friends.
It's very kind of you, Colonel, but rest assured, as her mother, I am well aware of her moods and spirits, and I'm quite accustomed to taking care of her.
Of course, it's just that I once knew a lady that was very much like her, and I should not like to see her.
Oh, rest assured, Marianne is surrounded by family and friends who wish her well.
Of course. It was not my intention to... Excuse me, Mom.
Mamma, are you quite well? Did Colonel Brandon have any news of Willoughby?
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure what he was trying to tell me.
Has Marianne confided in you any further? We are, after all these weeks, still at a loss as to why he left so suddenly.
I am persuaded that Miss Smith became aware of his affection for Marianne. Oh, he must be so unhappy.
But why does he not write?
We must make allowances for his feelings too, Eleanor. Like Marianne, he must be in anguish at their sudden parting.
Yes, but I do wish that he had been
less demonstrative of his love before he left and more so since.
I have it. This melancholy will not do. Miss Dashwood, Miss Marianne, will you do me the honour of accompanying me to London and spending the season at our home on Berkeley Street?
Splendid! Oh, ma'am, you are too kind, but we cannot leave our mother all alone.
Do not be alone. I will be here.
Oh, Lord, I'm sure your mother can spare you very well. Can you not, Mrs. Dashwood?
Of course I can. But I'm not sure I could cover the expenses of a season in town.
Nonsense. I shall see to everything. It will be a boon to me to have such lively young people about, and I dare say all the young gentlemen will come to London. So perhaps we may put some light back in those pretty eyes of Miss Marianne's, eh? I have a notion none here would object to that.
But I do. What shall become of me? Left behind.
Why, Brandon and I will teach you to shoot.
Oh, really? Yes.
Let's go now. Let's go now.
Why, look, the mere mention of it has already put the colour back into Marianne's cheeks.
And since Mr. Palmer must attend Parliament, we shall go to London too. Oh, and Lucy, my dear, you shall come with us. Oh, could anything be finer, Mr. Palmer?
My cup overflows.
London! I shall go to London. I must write at once.
What did he suppose packing these things?
Don't know, but whatever it is, ain't gonna move itself.
I don't understand why every time they move from one residence to another, they have to take the whole house.
You've got breakfast dresses, tea dresses, strolling dresses, dinner dresses, and dance dresses, if they should by chance get invited to a fete. God bless their souls.
Sure is strange what's having money.
Wanting money?
Or wanting money will make you do. Well, let's get this settled in.
Marianne, darling, I'm writing a letter to Mamma now. Could you not delay yours a little so that she and Meg might...
This letter's not for Mamma.
Oh, may I ask?
Surely you can guess.
My dear Mamma and Meg, we have arrived safe at Berkeley Street. The journey, though 3 days long, it did not tax our strength too much. Indeed, dear Marianne seemed to grow in health and beauty with every mile that we drew near the capital.
Perks, is it not?
Yes.
This letter must be delivered to Mr. Willoughby at Cottage Square at once.
Well, miss, I'll have to see if I can
At
find
once, and there should be an immediate reply.
Very well, miss.
Mrs. Jennings' house is beautiful, and elegant, and we are to make afternoon calls tomorrow. She says that invitations will flood in once it is known we are in town, and she joked about hiring more footmen to keep the young men from our door. 3 days of visits and shopping have quite exhausted me. But Marianne went with Mrs. Jennings early this morning to see all the riders in Hyde Park. The weather is very bright and fine for January.
Never mind, my dear. There were many fine gentlemen there, even if Mr. Willoughby was not among them.
Yes, ma'am, but other fine men are of no interest to me. Perks, did you...
Yes, miss. Both last night and this morning's.
And?
No reply, miss.
Oh, the week has flown by, dear Mamma. The weather continues fine, and we met John and Fanny at an evening party yesterday. They were very surprised to see us, but recovered admirably and made at least 2 gracious remarks.
Perks?
There is one for you.
At last! For Meg.
Marianne, my dear, a fault occurs. The weather is so fine, it says here, that many a sporting gentleman remain in the country. Why, the hunts are full to bursting, or so it is reported.
Of course! Willoughby will still be in the country. Miss Jennings, do you have a direction for Combe Radnor? Oh, I must write at once.
Mum, I cannot find a boy to take a message to Comagna.
The twopenny post, Perks, only so far as the main office.
Thank you, ma'am.
Marianne, darling, may I ask why you are so sure that...
I cannot say, but I truly am.
You have no confidence in me, Marianne?
Nay, Eleanor. This reproach from you. You have confidence in no one.
Me? But I have nothing to tell.
Oh. What situations are there alike? We have, neither of us, anything to tell. You, because you will not communicate. And I, because I conceal nothing.
Thank you for your letters. Your fears are unfounded, Mamma, for Mrs. Jennings moves in the most genteel circles, and we have been introduced to no one but people of taste, elegance, and refinement. Mr. and Mrs. Palmer and Miss Steele are now in town, for Parliament sits in February. Mrs. Palmer assures us her husband's speech is the drollest thing in creation, and we must not miss it. Though how he is to smuggle us all into the chamber, I cannot fathom.
Perks? Anything?
Sorry, miss.
Marianne, I think there's a letter for you, is there not, Perks?
There is no letter for Miss Marianne today.
Is there nothing for her?
I am sorry.
Will the weather change? Would that change anything?
Right, he might come if the weather changes.
Perks.
In London in winter? Give it half a day.
But you said that last week.
Well, then, more likely to change now.
Come, Marianne, let us go walking this morning. We may go by St. James Square and all the clubs. Oftentimes, a gentleman, not wanting the expense of opening his home for the little season, may take a room at his club instead.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Miss Jennings.
The recent rain, dear Meg, has made London a very dirty and wet and miserable place indeed, though not so wet and miserable as a fall in Sir John's trout stream. But, darling, what were you about? I should have been most anxious had Mamma not already written of your recovery. You know how wet and cold can depress one, though Marianne at least seems to thrive in it.
Miss Marianne, there has been a visitor. A gentleman, very elegant. He left a card.
Might be anyone, but Willoughby, at last. Oh, he has come at last.
How splendid!
Though what wretched fortune.
How so?
That I was not here to receive him. But surely he will. I cannot breathe.
He will not want to see such a sad old body as I, girls. Give me your cloaks. Take him into the parlor and I will lay low, as the Colonel says.
Colonel Barton.
Miss Dashwood, Miss Marianne, how was your...
Excuse me, I have a headache.
How kind of you to call again, Colonel. Won't you please come in and sit down?
Your sister seems out of spirits still.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry for her,
No,
behavior.
not at all. In truth, I'm glad to find you alone.
Oh. I trust you are well and all at Delaford?
Yes, indeed. Miss Dashwood, forgive me. But when am I to congratulate you upon the acquisition of a brother?
I'm not sure. So what can you mean?
Your sister's engagement to Willoughby is very generally known.
Oh, it cannot be generally known, for her own family do not know of it.
Of course, I beg your pardon. I did not suppose there was any secrecy since they corresponded so openly, and their marriage is universally talked of.
How can this be?
Miss Dashwood, I must ask, is everything finally settled? Is it impossible to halt? Please, tell me that it's all resolved and that concealment is all that remains.
Sir, while I have never been informed by Marianne or Willoughby of a formal engagement, I am in no doubt of their mutual affection, and their correspondence is, I acknowledge, an open secret.
And to your sister, I wish all imaginable happiness. To Willoughby, that he may endeavour to deserve her.
All clear.
Your man made the challenge. Is there no reconciliation?
Is there no reconciliation, sir?
Will he marry the girl?
The Colonel demands that Mr. Willoughby marry the girl.
The Colonel is asking that you would marry the girl.
No, I cannot.
He says no, he cannot.
He says that he cannot.
Then there is no reconciliation.
Gentlemen, there is no reconciliation. Mr. Willoughby, you will choose first. Colonel Brandon?
Has weight on it. Good. Very good. Okay. Remember his age. Is that against him?
Gentlemen, come to the center. Gentlemen, greet each other. Commence.
Keep him on the top. Good job.
Barton, take your place. Colonel, if you run again, I will have to shoot. Commence.
Make him work for those strikes. Good shot. Watch out, he's coming after you.
Remember your military training.
That shoulder up. Very good.
You deserve to die for what you did. Because Marianne loves you, I will let you live.
Come on, Brandon. Who is Marianne?
Never mind.
A dance later on.
Oh, would you look at that?
This marked my card. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Oh, I as well, absolutely.
Miss Marianne is in excellent spirits tonight. Mr. Palmer remarked on it as we entered.
I did nothing of the sort.
Then it must have been me. Oh, 'tis true nonetheless.
A miracle.
Miss Marianne looks enchanting.
And to what cause should we put to that?
Is it perhaps Willoughby is at last in town?
Indeed he is. Left his card yesterday. We did expect him in the evening, or at least today, but then I recollected he was sure to be here, and the girl brightened up no end. Lord, Charlotte, but she has been desperately in love. Now you, my dear, were foolish enough. But she has been quite altered and forlorn.
Oh, alas for Colonel Brandon.
Yes, though I have a scheme. If we could but lure Miss Eleanor Dashwood from our mysterious Mr. F, then might not Brandon do for her? They are closer in age and temperament.
Ladies and gentlemen, the broadside.
Miss Dashwood.
Brandon. You dance very well.
Mrs. Palmer, the next dance, I believe, is mine.
Yes, Colonel, but please sit and refresh yourself first.
I believe a nice glass of sherbet would refresh us all. Miss Dashwood?
Oh, yes, please. It is so very hot in here.
And Miss Mary?
Oh, I will find her, Colonel. She's probably seeking some air, but certainly I thought her overheated. A glass of ice sherbet would be most welcome.
Of course.
Such a kind man, and so melancholy. I believe I sense a change in him. Could we perhaps persuade you, Miss Dashwood, to change your F for a B?
Ma'am, you really must not. Please, excuse me, I must not allow my sister to walk alone.
Eleanor, have you seen him?
No, darling, but you must try to be civil, Marianne. Try to be civil to the rest of our party. Mrs. Jennings, she is the kindest woman and
so rather. Oh, I cannot think of anything but Willoughby. Oh, I cannot bear to be teased yet again with clumsy attempts at wit. I wonder very much how you could bear that Mr. F's this and Mr. F's that.
But perhaps we should see if he's in the refreshment room.
Yes.
Miss Dashwood, Miss Marianne, I have found
Good
these.
heavens! He's there! He's there! Oh, why does he not look at me? Why cannot I speak to him?
Pray, compose yourself. Do not betray how you feel to everyone present. Perhaps he has just not observed us yet.
Willoughby, I am here.
Ah, Miss Dashwood, good evening. I hope your mother is well. Have you been long in town?
Good God, Willoughby, what is the meaning of this? Have you not received my letters? Will you not shake hands with me?
I did myself the honor of calling upon Berkeley Street yesterday and very much regretted not finding Mrs. Jennings or yourselves at home. My card was not lost, I hope.
But have you not received my notes? Here is some mistake, I am sure, some dreadful mistake. Tell me, Willoughby, for heaven's sake, tell me, what is the matter?
That is to say, I had the honor of receiving the information of your arrival in town, which you were so good as to send me. Good evening.
They really should not allow these raw country girls access to the best parties. This is a sad crush, dear Willoughby. Let us depart.
Willoughby!
Sophia, please.
Who?
No one.
Think you can make a fool of me? What is that?
Nothing, just business.
They're from her, aren't they? Your little friend in Devon? Cut all of this from me.
Please, I can explain.
Yes. Yes, you will explain.
Marianne, darling, may I ask?
No, Eleanor. Ask nothing. Please do not speak to me for all the world.
A letter for Miss Marianne.
Oh, I hope he doesn't keep her waiting much longer, for I do hate to see her so upset. Perhaps a stroll to the market today, get some air.
Oh, no.
Marianne!
No.
I'm much concerned to find that there was anything in my conduct last night that did not meet your approbation, and though I'm quite at a loss to discover how I have offended you, I entreat your forgiveness. I will always reflect upon our former acquaintance at Devonshire with pleasure, but you will know that our acquaintance could never have meant more, since my affections have long been engaged elsewhere, and I am soon to be married. It is with great regret that I return your letters and the lock of hair which you so obligingly bestowed on me. I am, my dear madame, your most obedient, humble servant, John Willoughby. How is this possible?
He's a rogue. Well, he shall never be invited to dine here again, no matter how smart his relations.
Marianne, dear, at least you have escaped a connection for life with a most unprincipled man.
I have never felt so wretched, so happy, Eleanor. You can have no idea what I suffer.
You call me happy, Marianne. If you only knew. How can I be happy when you are so wretched? But think what you would have suffered if the discovery had been further delayed, if you had prolonged the engagement for months before finally putting a stop to it.
There was no engagement.
What?
He is not so unworldly as you think. He has broken no faith with me.
But he told you he loved you.
Yes. No. Never absolutely. It was implied, but never declared.
Yet you wrote to him, even though there was no formal engagement.
Could that be so wrong with all that passed?
Marianne,
No, Eleanor, this is not Marianne's fault. He is entirely in the wrong. Did he not take her alone in his carriage? Take a lock of her hair?
The lock of hair which you so obligingly bestowed on me. That is unpardonable, for it was he who cut it, and he who brought the scissors.
Well, at least Colonel Brandon can have her at last. £2,000 a year, it's not much, but he has some of the finest mulberry trees in the country.
I must see to Marianne.
Colonel Brandon for Miss Dashwood.
There, what did I say?
Good morning, Mrs. Jennings, Miss Dashwood.
Excuse me, Colonel. I must speak to Perks about the order of coals.
Good morning, Colonel. You seem flustered. Are you quite well?
I am. Sorry. I've come to inquire of Miss Marianne's health.
Alas, she is not at all well.
Miss Dashwood, there is something. I've been wrestling with whether to relay certain circumstances. I fear they may cause heartache. But now perhaps they may at least allow some understanding.
You know something of Willoughby that might explain his actions?
Once in our conversation, I alluded to a lady that reminded me of Marianne. The same warmth, spirit, Eliza. Eliza was an orphan that my father took in. From our earliest years, we were inseparable. But at the age of 17, she inherited a great fortune and was against her will engaged to my older brother. He neither loved her nor deserved her. He was unforgivably cruel. Eliza and I made a plan to elope to Scotland, but her maid betrayed us. They were married, and I posted to the East Indies. She was left without help or support, so she ran. I came back to England as soon as my service was over, but I could not trace her past her first seducer. Eventually, I found her. She was in the workhouse, confined for debt, and the last stages of consumption. I tried every way I knew to make her comfortable to the end. But out of that horror, a little girl was born, the offspring of her first guilty connection. She became a daughter to me. She lived with an aunt. I gave her everything that I could. Tried to make her happy. Last February, she disappeared. She was gone for 8 long months. And then, when I feared the worst...
Good heavens!
Yes, she was with child. And the rascal that took advantage
No,
of her was...
it cannot be! Not Willoughby!
Remember last year at the Whitwell picnic when I was called away? She had finally been found. But her youth and her innocence had been seduced away and left her in a situation of the utmost distress. No help, no family, no friends, and without the means to contact him. I'm not proud to admit it, but I called him out. Small of me, I know. In moments such as that.
This is beyond everything.
Has ceased her assault on my feet.
You mean from when she was having you travel to deliver all them local messages?
Yes.
Then why the horse face?
Because now, instead of assaulting my feet, she assails my ears.
Why, Willoughby?
Oh, I see. Well, do you have any long distance post for me?
Wish that I did, so I could deliver it myself to the twopenny post.
Well, sorry for your troubles. Here is a missive from Nolan.
Oh, joy. Thanks anyway. Good day.
Well, good day. I guess I best be on my way.
Eleanor, I must go home. Mamma must have this from us. How she looked Willoughby too.
Hush, darling, hush. I already wrote to Mama last week once Colonel Brandon informed us of Willoughby's actions.
Last week? But how?
You slept a little. Marianne, I hope you do not mind. I know it is your news to tell, but I fear she might hear it from Sir John or...
No, of course I do not mind. I do not mind about anything or anybody anymore. Oh, Willoughby, how could you be so hateful?
Darling, I will fetch a lavender tincture to soothe you.
I do not want to be soothed. My heart is breaking. Soothing is hateful. This house is hateful. Why do we not go home?
We owe Mrs. Jennings too much civility to
I want it, Eleanor.
Miss Dashwood! Miss Dashwood, may I enter, dear? I have something for dear Marianne.
No, I cannot.
Darling, hush, darling. Shh. Close your eyes and breathe deeply.
I have just recollected that I have some of the finest Constantinia wine in the house. My husband, he was so fond of it. Do take it to your sister.
Ma'am, you are too kind. But I've just at this moment left Marianne asleep at last, and I think nothing can be of more service to her now than rest.
Aye, of course. Come, sit you downstairs, for you have hardly any rest these past 2 nights. Now, I've been in consultation with cook. Do you think some dried cherries might tempt you to eat?
We can but hope, ma'am, but I fear such kind treats as those you have proposed would be lost on Marianne at present.
Poor soul. Nothing seems to do her any good. It is the oddest turn for me that a man would do such a pretty girl so ill. But then I recalled when there is plenty of money on one side and next to none on the other.
You speak of Willoughby and the lady Miss
Grey, yes. I knew her aunt from long ago. They are all rich together, you see.
Miss Grey is wealthy.
My dear, yes, £50,000. Did you not see her? Not handsome, not like our Miss Marianne, but stylish and smart.
I must do Willoughby this justice. He has broken no positive engagement with my sister.
No positive engagement indeed. After he drove off with her alone and showed her all the homes in her Eleanor's, fixing on the rooms in which they were to live in after they were wed.
Nevertheless, ma'am, I must ask that you not share any of this with Marianne, for it can only...
I would not dream of it for the world. Nor will my daughters, nor any of our friends. You can trust me on that, and in fact, I've been about it all week. Now, let me go take this Constantinia and put it somewhere safe.
Miss Lucy Steele.
Miss Dashwood, my dear, dear friend.
Good afternoon, Miss.
I have come to share my happiness. Could anything be so flattering as the way Edward's family greeted me last week?
Where?
At the Grosvenor Ball. It was quite the talking point of the event.
What was?
Oh, you think of your sister's outburst. It was, I assure you, nothing. Hardly spoken of after supper. But no, let me direct your thoughts to happier matters, for I was, despite my fears, quite the success with all of Edward's relations. Mrs. John Dashwood was all smiles and conciliation. Your brother, too, so kind. In fact, it was Fanny. Oh, forgive the familiarity, but we are such friends now, who invited me to leave the Palmers and stay with them at Putnam Square. And oh, Miss Dashwood, can you guess what befell 3 days since?
Not in the least.
I met Mrs. Ferris, Edward's mother.
Oh, and how is Mrs. Ferris?
She was all affability. She seemed to distinguish me above all others, especially when we found we agreed about so much that is important.
If she knew of your engagement, nothing could be more hopeful or flattering than this treatment of you, but as this is not the case...
Oh, I guessed you would say so, but you shall not, you naughty creature, talk me out of my satisfaction.
I've never met Mrs. Ferris, so...
Nor have you. Of course, you have not the same intimacy with the family that I have, so forgive me. But oh, you will rejoice with me, for now I have to stay with that Mrs. Dashwood. I shall see Edward so often.
Mr. Edward Ferris.
Miss Dashwood,
Miss Steele?
Mr. Ferris.
Mr. Ferris? I pray you are well. Won't you please sit down?
Thank you. Yes, sit. I will sit. Yes.
My mother and sister in Devon are still quite well.
Yes, of course. I should have. How are they?
Well. And how are your mother and sister?
Definitely well. I mean, they are well indeed.
Mr. Ferris, I know Marianne would be delighted to see you.
Oh, yes, of course. How is... I hear not well.
A visit from a friend and brother such as yourself can only cheer her. I will go fetch her, and I will leave you two as you both need.
No, we simply cannot...
Did I hear right? Has Edward come to you at last?
No. Well, yes, but
why have you left him?
Miss Steele is here.
Oh, heavens. Does she latch on to him at Fanny's? Oh, but why have you left them? Edward, dear Edward, at last to see you again.
Miss Marianne.
Oh, this is a dear happiness. This almost makes amends for everything.
You are very kind.
Sit, please. Oh, how do you do, Mr. No, you sit there, and I will join Edward. You must forgive a reunion of old and dear friends.
No, of course. Marianne, I fear London does not agree with you. I had heard you were unwell.
Fanny, I suppose. Do not think of me, Edward. Eleanor is well, you see, and that must be enough for us both.
Yes. Or, no, I would hope... do you like London?
Yes, Miss Marianne. You were so eager to come, were you not?
I do not like it at all. I expected to find much pleasure in it, but there was none. The sight of you, Edward, is the only comfort London has afforded.
You do me too much.
Eleanor, is it not a joy to see Edward again?
A meeting of friends must always afford pleasure.
Friends? Say family, rather. And Edward, as family, we must implore you to take care of us in our return to Barton.
You are leaving?
In a week or two, I hope. I trust that you will not be unwilling to escort us on the stage. I know Mamma will be anxious to see you.
Well, if I can be of service.
Marianne, darling, Marianne, aren't you tired?
Tired? No. I feel the need to do well by the word, even though I cannot. Edward, why have you not come before? You have been sadly missed.
Hardly missed, I think.
Oh, but yes!
There were certain engagements. I could not... Obligations. One must not...
But what are engagements when there are such friends to be met?
Perhaps, Miss Marianne, you think all young men can never be trusted to stand upon their engagement.
The weather, I think, has been particularly...
Very
yes.
Oh, you mistake me, Miss Steele. I know Edward has the most delicate conscience in the world, and that he is scrupulous in fulfilling his duty and obligations, no matter how onerous or unpleasant they may be to him.
Oh, really? I don't believe that.
I did never hear yourself praised. Then you must be no friend of mine. For those who accept my love and esteem must submit to my open commendation.
You will excuse me, but I must return to my sister.
My dear Edward, so soon this must not be. I'm sure Miss Steele can carry a message back to Fanny that you will dine with us.
I could do so, but Mrs. Ferris would find that strange.
You are too kind, Marianne, but go I must.
Then, happily, we may walk back to Harley Street together.
Of course. Good day, Miss Dashwood. Miss Marianne.
Good day.
Tiresome girl. What can bring her here so often? Could she not see we wanted her gone? And then I could have contrived to leave Edward with you.
Miss Steele has been known to Edward longer than you or I have. It is natural he should like to spend time with her.
Eleanor, what is it you are not telling me? Why were you so cold to Edward? And you must know your praise of Lucy Steele is just the kind of talking I can have back.
Marianne, please do not speak of it, of anything. Oh. You do not understand.
Oh.
You do not understand.
Well, it seems the Banshee has finally ceased her attack.
Yes, but she's still quite dour, still moping about the place. Never quite sure if it's safe to enter a room for cleaning, for fear she might be there all in a daze. God bless her soul. So I was taken to act like I was talking to another servant and announces myself as I enter. Well, yes, Mrs. Hughes will be stopped. Please, here room.
Makes you feel right proper now, does it?
Yeah, I just feels bad for the girl is all. Getting jilted on account of money.
Oh, the kitchen is on.
What is it now? That poulterers sell them another batch of thin chickens?
No, there is news about Miss Steele.
Miss Lucy Steele?
Yes, that's the one. Well, I think. It seems that cook heard it from a scullery maid while at market, that heard it from a groomsman at Norland, that Miss Lucy Steele has fled Norland for her home.
What? Without returning to say goodbye to Miss Eleanor? Seems right and proper, it does.
Oh, it seems there was quite a row. Oh, I wish I'd been there to see it.
Well, you two best get along with your business. If Lady Jennings hears talk of this, the tale will be all over town.
Eleanor! Marianne!
There she is now. Get along.
Girls! Eleanor! Marianne!
My goodness, what is it?
Miss Lucy Steele has fled the town and returned to her family in Plymouth.
What could have caused that? Is she quite well?
Well, I would say that depends on the actions of your Mr. F.
Edward? What on earth could he have to do with it?
He and Lucy have been secretly engaged these 4 years. Lucy, silly girl that she is, admitted it to Fanny, believing she had said some sort of approval in her. Alas, she could not have been more wrong.
Well, perhaps there was some misunderstanding on Fanny's part. We know Edward. We spent time with him at Norland. Perhaps there was some confusion.
Oh, not a bit. For Edward was summoned and made to account for his actions. He was threatened with disinheritance, but he has said he will stick by his word no matter the consequences. He has followed Lucy out of London. Goodness knows what will become of them. Well, she left in the clothes she stood up in and nothing else, so I must go speak to Perks about her effects. Perks! Perks!
How long have you known of this, Eleanor? Has he written to you?
I have known it these past 4 months. When Lucy came to visit us at Barton last November, she told me in confidence of their engagement.
4 months? And yet you've been so calm, so cheerful. How good you
My promise to Lucy obliged me to be secret.
Oh, 4 months, and yet you left him.
Yes. But sharing sorrow does not lessen it, and I would not have you suffer on my account, for I can assure you, I no longer suffer materially myself. I wish him very happy. I believe he will be at peace, knowing he has done what he thinks is right, as his conscience dictates.
If such is your way of thinking, perhaps. But perhaps you did not really love him so very deeply.
No. Marianne, no. For these past 4 months, I've had this hanging over my head without being at liberty to speak of it to a single creature. It was told to me, it was forced upon me by the very person whose prior engagement dashed my hopes. And it was told, as I thought, in triumph. And I had to listen to her hopes and her exultations just again and again, and all the while knowing myself to be divided from Edward forever, but without ever hearing of a single circumstance that should make me less desire the connection. But Marianne, darling, if you can believe me capable of ever feeling, I hope you may believe that I have suffered now.
Eleanor, I've been so heartless to you.
Colonel Brandon, Mum.
Colonel Barton,
Good afternoon, Colonel. I'm sorry for...
No,
Marianne.
not at all. I understand, well, that as I've heard, that Mr. Ferris and Miss Steele have been discovered to have been engaged and are now put out of favour and disinherited because of it?
Yes, but I had no idea you were at all acquainted with them.
I have no great knowledge of Miss Steele, but I have seen Mr. Ferris 2 or 3 times. Oh, the cruelty, the impolitic cruelty of dividing or attempting to divide 2 young people long attached to each other. What's terrible? Mrs. Ferris does not know what she may be doing, what she may drive her son to do. I understand he intends to take orders.
Yes.
I was wondering, would you be so good as to inform him that the living at Delaford, now just vacant, it's his. If he thinks it's worth his acceptance, it's a rectory, but a small one.
Of course I will. Oh, I wonder, in return, might you accompany us on our travels home? We mean to leave tomorrow via Cleveland.
Of course.
Thank you, Colonel.
Then I will attend you. Good day, Miss Dashwood.
Perks, could you send a boy to Harris Street with this?
Of course, Mr. Edward Ferris.
Mr. Ferris, thank you for responding so promptly.
Not at all. To you above all. Some form of explanation
Oh,
must be...
no, not that. I quite understand.
You do? But how can you? My engagement...
Oh, a man's word once given cannot be lightly revoked. I admire constancy.
And I admire courage.
But my task today on behalf of a friend is a happy one. Do you know Colonel Brandon?
I know he's a friend of your family.
Colonel Brandon desires that I should offer you a living on his estate at Delaford. He understands you mean to take holy orders.
I do. Colonel Brandon gives me a living? Can it be possible?
The unkindness of your family has made you astonished to find kindness anywhere.
No, but from you. After all I've done, I'm not unsensible that this is your goodness. The Colonel, I hear, to you
No, you are quite mistaken. The Colonel is master of his own mind. This is entirely his decision.
Master of his own mind. Yes. A man should be that. I must see the Colonel at once. Miss Dashwood.
Mr. Ferris, goodbye, and I wish you very well.
Miss Dashwood.
It is done. Now, if we could only go home.
Along now, will you?
Why are we doing this anyways? Why are they stopping at the Palmer's house?
Because it's about halfway to their cottage at Bradford.
Barton, you dimwit. It's Barton's cottage, not Bradford. Honestly, woman. But that isn't my point.
Well, what is your point then?
Why do we have to unload their luggage here?
I saw Betty told you. It's a convenient stop because it's about halfway.
Well, it's not convenient for me. They don't have to lug these heavy crates.
There are alternative motives.
What could be worth all the trouble to my back?
Magna, Mr. John Willoughby's estate, is but a league from here. On a clear day, you can see it from above on top of the ridge. I think Miss Marianne may have persuaded Lady Jennings to pause here to be in proximity.
So I have to suffer the moving of this crate twice because some woman wants a chance to see some land she'll never be entitled to.
You've obviously never been in love. Now, come along. We've got the horses to tend to afterwards. God bless their souls.
The letter this morning confirmed that the structural work I set in motion for the parsonage at Dashwood is now all complete. Now, I think that Mr. Ferris will find it more comfortable than he expected.
You are too kind, Colonel. Mrs. Ferris will like a hand in the final furnishings, I expect.
Mrs. Ferris, I beg your pardon. I fear that Delafield living will not support a family. Have I misled you?
No, not at all, but I expect Mr. Ferris and Miss Steele will wish to marry soon. After all, his mother is no longer an impediment to their union, and they say they can manage on very little, so...
I believe I heard the word Delafield mentioned between them. It is as I said, he is telling her of his estates.
Well, I'm happy for them. They are well matched, and the family deserves some joy.
Oh, no obstacle that I can see. Except, of course, Miss Williams.
Miss Williams? Oh, the love child. Well, she's not...
I say, Brandon, fancy a game of billiards before supper?
Oh, thank you, Palmer, but no, I'm too busy.
Too busy describing the delights of Delafield to Miss Dashwood, eh, Brandon? I believe last year I was wrong in the direction of your attention.
Now, I would hesitate, ma'am, ever to correct any statement of yours. But in fact... Miss Dashwood and I were discussing the whereabouts of Miss Marianne, were we not?
Oh, yes. Yes, I am quite concerned.
Will she not be roaming the shrubbery? She's taken such a partiality to it since we came.
Outside?
In this weather, surely not.
You will excuse me.
Marianne would not venture outside in such a downpour. She could not.
My dear, she has walked about the park for most of the day, ever since we arrived here at Cleveland.
Ever since you mentioned that Cove Magna could be seen from the slope above the Farr pasture.
Mr. Willoughby's home, I had no idea it was so close.
It isn't, except in the imagination of my wife.
But she has been much calmer since you broke the news of Mr. Willoughby's marriage last month.
Well, what shall I do? She is so weak, and her nerves, they are much disordered since, to exhaust herself so, and she really is trying to govern her emotions and her feelings for, you see, we had a conversation last week, and she promised, I'm sorry, what am I saying? I'm sorry, I do not as a rule rattle on like this.
Dear, the Colonel will find her.
Perhaps, Charlotte, you might instruct the housekeeper to have Miss Marianne's bed warmed and a very hot bath prepared. She will have fresh, warm clothing aired by a fire that I will build in her room.
Yes, at once. What a comfort you are, my dear.
Miss Dashwood, I will send at once for my physician, Dr. Harris. Now, I do not believe anything will be seriously amiss, but it is better to be prepared. She has brought Charlotte through several bad turns and is an excellent physician.
Oh, Mr. Palmer, we put you through so much trouble. I don't...
Nonsense, my dear. Now, excuse me.
Oh, Marianne!
Beyond the heart lying on the ground, I do not know how long she's in there. She's alive. She's still breathing, but very cold.
This way, at once.
Marianne! Fever!
I fear so. Miss Dashwood is so very warm and restless.
What more can I do?
I would remove your wife and child from the house. It may be contagious.
I cannot leave you, Miss Dashwood, to...
Mr. Palmer, you've already been too good. Colonel Brandon will remain, I think.
Yes. Brandon is a good fellow. Miss Dashwood, if I could stay, please believe me that I would, but
your place is with your family. I'm only sorry we are driving you out of your own home.
Nonsense. Our friends at Charlton will have us for as long as...
As long as is necessary. Now, please excuse me. I must see to Marianne. Dr. Harris, what she...
We must, I think, bleed her again. The fever is too high.
I'm so sorry, Eleanor. Just over the brow. See, comb, see. Willoughby. Oh, Willoughby. How could you be so?
Hush, darling.
He does not love me anymore. It's too dark, too wet. Be more sensible. Eleanor bears all. Oh, Mama, such a heavy weight. Edward and Lucy still. Oh, Willoughby!
Still raging. Her heart is under great strain, Miss Dashwood.
What more can we do?
Keep her cool when she is fevered, and warm when she shivers. But you must prepare yourself, my dear. I must be about my rounds today. I will return this evening. Pray God the fever breaks soon.
Marianne, darling, can you please just try to live? Darling, I've seen you this past month, darling. I've seen you this past month trying to govern yourself, and I am so very proud of you. You have been kind and Marianne, darling, you have been kind and thoughtful and strong, aren't you? You are strong. Just one, darling, just one last effort, darling. And please do not leave me here to bear it all alone. Please.
Miss Dashwood.
Oh, Colonel.
No, it's I that intrude. Dr. Harris said that...
There's hope. Marianne's fevers tend toward violent extremes.
As does Marianne. In the name of God, Miss Dashwood, give me something useful to do.
I think Marianne should sleep better. Were her mother here?
Of course. Simpleton that I am. I should have thought of this. I will write at once and bring her in my carriage. Look for us tomorrow evening.
It is over 30 miles, Colonel. Say rather the day after.
Colonel Barton.
Yes, he was here.
Play for him. He listens.
Was I right to call you? She does seem quieter.
Miss
No,
Dashwood, no, quite the opposite. The pulse is steady. I believe last night was the crisis, and you brought her safely through. Well done, my dear. No, there. I shall call the children and tell Mr. Palmer tomorrow morning. Is there no one else in the house to receive you? When did the excellent Colonel Brandon return?
He said this evening, but I do not expect him. The roads.
Oh, if the Colonel said he would come, he will come, I think. Try to have your sister take some of that broth.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Could you please send me your account?
Oh, bless you, my dear. But Mr. Palmer and Colonel Brandon have each told me to apply to him to settle it. It is lucky chance I am so honest, is it not? Good night, my dear lady.
Eleanor?
Marianne, darling, are you yourself again?
I think so. Where are we?
We are at Cleveland. Oh, darling, do you think you could take just a little of this broth? You've taken nothing in a week.
I think so. Do not leave me. I am afraid of going again.
Darling, I won't. I promise I won't. Oh, just a moment, darling. I think I hear Colonel Brandon approaching. Oh, Marianne, he has been so good.
I think I know. He has been present
so often, but he went to fetch.
Go to him. I must thank him. Leave the door open and bring him here. Please.
You are certain you will not over-excite yourself?
Please, I am sensible to what I owe him.
Good God!
Miss Dashwood, for half an hour, no, for 10 minutes, I entreat you to let me stay.
No, sir, you will not stay. Your business cannot be with me.
Your sister, she's out of danger? I heard it from the doctor. God be praised, but is it true? Is it really true?
We hope she is.
I known as much as half an hour ago, but since I am here, tell me honestly, do you think me most a knave or a fool?
Sir!
I mean, if I can to make you hate me 1 degree less.
Mr. Willoughby, I hardly think it is worthwhile for you to relate or for me to listen a moment longer.
I insist on you hearing the whole of it.
You did then at one point consider yourself attached to her?
Yes. I found myself sincerely fond of her, and the happiest hours of my life were spent with her. So I determined to ask for her hand. In the interim, a discovery took place. Mrs. Smith had somehow or other been informed of an affair.
Yes, I have heard all about Miss Williams and how you intend to explain away any part of your guilt in that dreadful business. I confess it's beyond my comprehension.
My aunt taxed me with the offense at once. The matter itself, I could not deny. By one measure, I might have saved myself. In the height of her morality, she offered to forgive the past if I would marry Eliza Williams, but this could not be. And so I was formally dismissed from her favor and her house, and this is when I knew I could not have Marianne. To see her, I felt would be dreadful. And I even doubted whether I could do so and keep to my resolution, but I went. I saw her miserable and left her miserable and left hoping to never see her again. Miss Dashwood. Well, I left. I left all that I loved and went to those to whom at best I was only indifferent.
Well, sir, is that all?
Ah, no. Have you forgotten what passed in town? That infamous letter. Did she show it?
Yeah, I saw every note that passed.
Marianne's note awakened all my remorse. I felt that she was infinitely dearer to me than any other woman in the world, and that I was using her infamously, but just then everything was settled between Miss Grey and me. To retreat was impossible. If you can, pity me, Miss Dashwood. Pity my situation as was then. With my head and my heart full of your sister, I was forced to play the lover to another woman. But that night, the party, what an evening of agony it was. Marianne, beautiful as an angel on one side, calling me Willoughby in such a tone, and Sophia, jealous as the devil on the other hand, looking, watching all that was.
But the letter, Mr. Willoughby, your own letter, how do you explain that?
Yes, that in particular. Sophia saw one of her letters. A report had reached to her of my attachment of a young lady in Devonshire. In short, what do you think of my wife's style of letter writing?
Your wife, the letter was in your handwriting.
Yes, but I had only the credit of servilely copying such sentences as I was ashamed to put my name to. But I'm talking like a fool. In honest words, her money was necessary to me, and in a situation like mine, anything was to be done to prevent a rupture. Such was my reasoning as I parted with the last relics of Marianne.
You are very wrong, Mr. Willoughby. You are not to speak in this manner, not of Mrs. Willoughby, nor of my sister.
But am I less guilty in your opinion than I was before?
You have certainly removed something, a little, but after all the misery you have inflicted, I hardly know what could have made it worse.
Will you repeat to your sister what I have been telling you? Let me be a little lightened too in her opinion.
I will tell her all that is necessary.
Now you know all. Well then, I shall tender my goodbye. I shall now go away and live in dread of one event.
What do you mean?
Poor sister's marriage.
Darling, did you hear?
Yes.
Oh, please do not let it overthrow you. Not when you are finally beginning to be well again.
Eleanor, I think, I'm not sure, but I think I have now heard what I wish to hear. I think I could have never been happy with him.
I am glad to hear you say that. The fault would not have been yours, but with one so selfish, it could not.
Do you really think him selfish?
Oh, the whole of his behaviour is grounded in selfishness.
Yes.
Selfish to small trivial effects when he knew he could not marry you. Selfish to abandon you with no explanation. Selfish to avoid you in London, and selfish to pity himself now for the consequences.
That is true. My happiness was never his object.
And he regrets it now only because he is unhappy. Rich he may be, but happy he is not.
I think, Eleanor, that all his difficulties have arisen from that first offence against virtue. I mean his conduct towards Miss Williams. When I think of Colonel Brandon's behaviour, that to Willoughby, I see the errors in my judgment.
Darling.
Right this way, Mrs. Dashwood, right this way.
Marianne! Eleanor!
Let's go, Mama! She's here!
Marianne!
Oh, my darling.
I'm so wanted you!
Hush. Oh, hush, my darling.
She will recover. Come.
I think that I cannot.
She asked for you. Please come. So
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you. Thank you so much.
post for you, Betsy.
Oh, thank you much. What do you bring me today?
It looks like some sort of poem book. By the markings, it appears it comes from Colonel Brandon, delivered here from town.
I'm sure Miss Marianne would love this. The Colonel has been over every day for the last 2 months, reading poetry and spending time with Miss Marianne. Is there anything else?
No, nothing else for your residence. I do have this here special message from someone in town. It seems important, but that stops so far off, and I'm a bit tired from their idea. Mind if I get a cuppa and rest my feet for a few? I have to ride over to Eleanor next.
Oh, come right in. I don't think the Dashwoods would mind if I harbour a refugee from work. And why don't I cook you a full goose while you're waiting?
Oh, I don't think I have time for all that. Oh, all right, I'm moving.
I'd quite forgotten how steep this hill is. Marianne, darling, do you mind if we pause a moment? I'm so glad to see you so well again, but not at the expense of my own wind and limbs.
I think you are ascribing my own weakness to yourself. But thank you. I would like to stop. Here's the very place. There. Exactly there on that projecting mound. There I fell, and there I first saw Willoughby. I am thankful to find I can look upon the spot with so little pain.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Indeed, I've been meaning to tell you how much I have admired you these past few months.
Admired me? I think not.
Oh, yes, darling, I was so very proud of you. The whole of the carriage from Cleveland to Devon, you were so calm and attentive to Mrs. Jennings and to Colonel Brandon.
How could I be otherwise? Their kindness merits so much more.
Yes,
but I have not always been sensible of what is owed to good people. Being too sensible of my own feelings and my prejudices towards a bad one. Do not deny it, Eleanor, for I own it myself.
Yet you did not allow your regrets about Willoughby to turn you against the cottage. I saw how every place, everything there reminded you of him.
But you have taught me to apply reason to my senses. The pianoforte. I loved before I ever saw Willoughby, and so I will love it again, which requires only firmness of purpose. I have a program, you see. I will apply myself to vigorous walking, early rising, industry about the house, plentiful practicing, and extensive reading of improving texts.
And all that in one day.
You mock me, but I will show you, and I will learn to forgive him properly. At present, I confess I am comforted a little in the fact that he will suffer, as I have, and rightly so.
Do you then compare your conduct with his?
No. I compare it to what it ought to have been. I compare it to yours.
Oh, darling.
Eleanor, I indulged myself in my feelings. The unceasing kindness of Miss Jennings, Sir John, the Palmers. I repaid with ungrateful contempt. And dare Colonel Brandon, a good man. I mocked him with the much lesser one, but you found the time to be kind to them, and to me. Oh, Eleanor,
let us go home. Lovely flower.
Good afternoon, girls. Was your walk pleasant? Mwah. You did not overtire yourself, Marianne.
Not at all. I feel very well indeed, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. How was your trip into Exeter? Did you make the arrangements with the butcher?
Yes, ma'am, just as you said.
And did you have time to call upon your sister?
My mother. Yes, I did. Thank you, Miss Marianne, and much obliged was she for your kind gift of this shawl. I suppose you know, ma'am, that Mr. Ferris is married?
Mr. Ferris? Married? What nonsense, Thomas, are you sure?
I seen Mr. Ferris myself this morning in Exeter. His lady, too. Miss Steele, as was. They was stopping the chaise at the door of the New London Inn. As I went past, I happened to look up. So I see directly it was Miss Steele. So I took off my hat, and she knew me, and called to me, and inquired after you, ma'am, and the young ladies, especially Miss Marianne, and bid me I should give her compliments, and Mr. Ferris, their best compliments and service, and how sorry they was they had not time to come on to see you. But, howsoever, when they come back, they made sure to come. She was always a very affable and free-spoken young lady, and very civil behaved, so I made free to wish her joy. Will that be all, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Thomas. I shall ring when we want tea.
Thank you, ma'am.
Edward, married to Lucy Steele. But how?
Oh, Margaret, not now.
But I thought he was going to marry Eleanor.
Margaret, come out with me.
But you only just returned. You need rest. I thought
I
you
need to
would.
lie down. Upstairs. You must read to me. Come on.
Thank you, Marianne. Eleanor.
All is well, Mamma. I thought one of our connections in London would write to tell us of the wedding, that there would be some warning.
Would you drink some tea if I ring for it?
Of course. Oh dear, I thought myself fully inured to it, fully reconciled, but now I find that I
oh my God!
Please, Mama, please do not. Yes. I shall lose all sense of purpose if you please.
Yes, of course. Eleanor, I did not realize. Marianne's affliction seemed so great that I persuaded myself that you were less engaged, less, oh my darling, I was so wrong. Please, come, tell me all.
I think not, Mama. I am myself again.
Yes.
I am myself.
I told Meg a little of what passed. Enough at any rate to keep her from impertinent questions. I do hope, Eleanor, I did right.
Poor Meg kept sadly ignorant of it all. Yes, thank you, Marianne. That was well done.
Where is Meg now?
Oh, well, I'm expecting Colonel Brandon. I sent her to keep a lookout.
Colonel Brandon. He will have news of Edward and Lucy. They are probably heading to the parsonage.
Well, I wonder why he did not speak of it yesterday or the day before. I'm sure he known of
the wedding.
Yep.
Lucy might, but Edward would never arrive without warning, especially as the Colonel has been so very good to him.
As he is to all.
Edward! It is Edward! He is riding up the valley!
Edward?
How can it be? He was at Exeter this morning and on the road to Dashwood.
No, Meg will be mistaken. It is sure to be Colonel Brandon.
Edward is almost here! I thought you said he's married to that horrible Steele woman.
Margaret, do not speak of people in that way. It's not genteel.
It is Colonel Brandon's.
Good heavens! It is Edward!
Do not say a single word to him, Margaret.
But I need
Not a word. We shall behave as Eleanor would wish, with dignity.
Mr. Edward Ferris, ma'am.
Thank you, Thomas. Edward, you are most welcome. Please, come in and be seated. May I pass you a cup of tea?
Thank you, ma'am.
And we do all wish you very great joy, Edward.
You do? Oh, yes. Thank you.
The weather has been charmingly dry, has it not? That was fortunate for you, I think.
Dry, indeed.
Charmingly so.
Indeed, yes.
And is Mrs. Ferris at Delaford?
At Delaford? No, my mother's in town.
No, I meant to inquire after your, after Mrs. Edward Ferris.
Perhaps you mean my brother, Mrs. Robert Ferris.
Mrs. Robert Ferris?
Then you do not know. You have not heard, but my brother is lately married to Miss Lucy Steele.
Oh, forgive me, but I thought Miss Steele was engaged to you.
Yes, indeed. But after my mother made her objections known, I believe my brother visited Miss Steele with the intention of persuading her to give me up. But of course, he is now a man of permanent fixed fortune.
Your fortune?
No, ma'am, never mind. My mother's to, bestow or withhold as she saw fit. And since I displeased her, she bestowed it irrevocably upon Robert. After but a few days, they found they should suit. Then she kindly released me from our engagement. They married last week and now live in Dawlish.
Then you are not married?
No. No, I am not.
Mama, Meg, Colonel Barton has come. Let us at once show him the garden.
You see the garden?
Yes.
Eleanor, are you quite well? Eleanor, I met Lucy when I was very young. Had I had an active profession, I would have never felt such an idle, foolish inclination. My behavior towards you and Norland was very wrong, but I had convinced myself that you only felt friendship for me, that it was my heart alone that I was risking. I come here today with no expectations, only to profess, now that I am at liberty to do so, that my heart is and always will be yours.
Was that Mr. Ferris you just announced? Mr. Edward Ferris?
Why, yes. What do you ask?
Well, bless my soul, it's the very man I'm just now setting out to deliver a message to at Delaford. Would you please announce me so I can deliver it?
Can't I just deliver it to him like a good butler?
No, I have special instructions, Moscow signature for delivery of this post.
My, this must be something important then. Follow me.
Good evening, Thomas. Have I come too late for tea?
No, not at all, Colonel. Please, the both of you, may follow me. Colonel Brandon, now.
Thank you, Thomas. Colonel, you are most welcome.
You are most welcome. We were just having tea.
Pardon me, ma'am, but a special messenger for Mr. Ferris.
Oh, how unusual.
Beg your pardon, ma'am. I have this special message from Norfolk for Mr. Edward Ferris. I apologise for the impropriety, but my employer insists. Sir, may I get your signature for proof of delivery?
Whatever it is, it must be important. Where do you need my designation?
Thank you, sir. Good day, sir. Ma'am?
Miss Marianne, may I inquire if you've received my gift to your library?
No, I don't think we have. Let me ask Betsy.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Betsy. Has a parcel arrived for me?
Yes, ma'am. It's just here on the tray.
Oh, here it is. May I?
Oh, yes.
There's an especially poignant poem here on page 30. May I read it to you?
Oh, that would be lovely.
A red, red rose. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that sweetly played in tune. So fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gone dry.
Bravo, Colonel. I've never heard better.
You never heard at all, Edward. I saw you running your fingers through your pocket throughout the entire presentation. Colonel Brandon, presented as a true courtesan.
I would cry libel. But alas, I'm discovered. I can't take my mind from this letter.
Why? What does it say?
Meg, curiosity is not genteel.
But Edward wanted me to ask. Do you not, Edward?
I do, you little minx. Ma'am, my mother has relented.
Oh, completely? She has stripped your brother...
No. The settlement of him is permanent. Though, given his disobedience following so swiftly upon my own...
And with the same person.
I do believe it did shock her. She has not fully reconciled to my choice of wife.
For shame.
And therefore bestows upon me only the same dowry that Fanny received.
Oh my goodness, that was enormous.
Yes. So, Colonel Brandon, I believe I have the wherewithal to not only accept with gratitude the living in parsonage at Delaford, but to support a wife who I believe will be an asset to the parish in every way.
I'm delighted to hear it.
And I can only apologize for the most ungracious way I originally accepted. My poor excuse is that you could not have done so out of philanthropy.
But you did not know him. It is just as he is.
But I did believe there was some motive. That you could not refuse a request from Eleanor because...
Good heavens, was everyone trying to send me off to Delaford?
But you are going to Delaford. To the parsonage after you wed.
Yes, Meg, but there was a time for many months when it seemed as if every friend of ours was intent on sending me...
To me.
No.
Oh, yes, I know. Far too old and incapable of a second attachment. I know your views, Marianne.
No, Colonel, you do not. My views have changed considerably since last year. Considerably.
Perhaps we should leave?
No, I made my mistakes openly, did I not? I would like to make a wise choice with equal openness.
Marianne,
I know my folly. Like a child, I chased after ineffectual enchantment, and I did not recognize true gold. There, directly in front of me, within you. Unless, my dear Colonel, I am horribly wrong again.
No, my dear, you are not. Indeed, you are not.